This episode is brought to you by the Regional Air Quality Council, because it's time to go green and set the summer trend. Get yourself a 30% point-of-sale discount on new electric lawn and garden equipment statewide in Colorado at participating retailers. That's 30% off electric lawnmowers, leaf blowers, and string trimmers. Actually used this recently. My husband was like, how do we get that discount? And I was like, I think you just have to find a retailer. And he was like, okay. And then we did it. Learn more ways to help improve air quality along the Front Range at simplestepsbetterair.org. That's simplestepsbetterair.org. Today on CityCast Denver. When I found out the Denver Diner was never coming back and becoming a Chase Bank, the first person I texted was my friend Kalyn Heffernan. Kalyn and I spent a lot of time together at the Denver Diner over the years. We would hang out there after shows. My husband Greg is a drummer in her band, Wheelchair Sports Camp. We also had many strategy sessions at the diner when Kalyn was rolling for mayor in 2019, and I was her press sorceress.
On April Fool's Day, I made a video about sitting for mayor and drew this cute logo. We've been seriously rolling out a Poor People's campaign on a tampon string budget ever since. Because I seriously want to see Denver be the most accessible city in the world.
So buckle up, because Kalyn's on the show today, and we're going to cry over Denver Diner's demise together. Today is Thursday, November 11th, 2021. I'm Bree Davies, and this is CityCast Denver. Okay, no touching anything on your desk or anything.
Okay.
Put your drink down.
Okay.
Kalyn Heffernan, welcome back to CityCast Denver.
Hi, Bree. Thanks for having me back.
So I wanted to have you on to talk about one of our favorite places together that we've spent a lot of time at together, but doesn't exist anymore. So we learned recently that the Denver Diner that's been boarded up for many months is going to become a Chase Bank. Why was the Denver Diner important to you?
No one else can see it besides you, but I'm wearing a very sad face right now.
You are wearing a sad face.
I live right here and I have to pass by it every day, and God, that place was so important to me and so many people for so many reasons. And, you know, I think the Denver Diner was the most accessible place of gathering maybe in the city. And a big part of that had to do with the intersection that it's at. I mean, being on Spear and Colfax is, you know, just the crossway of the whole city. And yeah, I went there a lot of nights super late, and I went there before I was of age to do super late things.
Yeah, it was like a hangout spot. That was my memories too, is we used to call it the Double D in high school, and we'd go hang out there because when you're a teenager, you can't hang out anywhere else.
Yeah, it was this weird, like, safe space for so many people, you know. It was, like, a safe space for teenagers and for children, but it was also this safe space for drunks and users and partiers to go and sober up and kind of, like, come down from wild nights in the city. And you could go and just pay for a coffee. I think it was also accessible for, like, the prices. You know, you could just order coffee all night, and I knew plenty of people that did that. And you could also just get a pie, or you could get chicken fried steak, which is usually what I got.
I was going to say, I thought you usually got chicken tenders. I thought the chicken fried steak was too big of a platter for you in terms of your appetite.
Well, yeah, it was like a shared event for sure. It's also right next to the jail. And so that was another reason why it was kind of the place to go. For many people, it was like the first warm place after getting out of jail and maybe a spot to like plug in your phone. And yeah.
So you've mentioned how accessibility is such a big component of what makes the Denver Diner special. And I'm just thinking about how many restaurants in town can accommodate a group of people who use wheelchairs to come in and have a meal. And really, it's not a lot.
Yeah. No, I just talked about this like last night or 2 nights ago. It's like, it was the place that, would make enough room for a big party. And, yeah, when you got that many wheelchairs, like a small party is quite a big party. So, and it was a regular. It wasn't even like a big deal.
They didn't make a big deal out of it. And I think that that's something that folks who don't use wheelchairs or have friends that use wheelchairs understand is sometimes when we go into a restaurant, it's this whole ordeal. Like, oh, I don't know where we can seat you. I don't know. They make a spectacle out of it. And something I appreciate about the Denver Diner was that it was never a spectacle. We were customers in a restaurant.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was one of their favorite customers. Not just any customer, Here's the thing about Denver Diner, though. They would make a big deal about me ordering from the kids' meal. And I would always, tip what I would if I paid for,
a full meal.
Adult chicken tenders. But if I'm just getting chicken tenders, I only need 2. I'm 60 pounds, and I'm tipping well over 20%. And, they would fight me about that. They never fought me about how many people were in my party or, how many wheelchairs there were. But they would fight me about ordering on the kids' meal sometimes.
But something else I think we're talking about now is this sort of unflappable nature of the waitresses there. They really, like you're saying, you would see just a group of drunk people from the club just pour into the Denver Diner. We'd be sitting there having, late night dinner, 2 a.m, and maybe we'd come from a show and there would be this group of drunk people and they were treated no differently. It was like, have a seat.
I got a funny story about one of the last times. I was at Denver Diner after an art show at Red Line, and it was a going away party for our friend Kane and Diego Flores. It's probably got to be at past midnight. And Diego stands on his chair and he's like, "What the F is up, Denver?" And he pours water on his body and his face, and he's just being his own football team that pours the Gatorade over the coach, but he was doing it to himself, and all this water, and somebody had to clean that up, and of course he was more than willing to do it, but they didn't even make a stink about that. They're "Oh no, we got it," haha.
And Diego's actually a former CityCast Denver guest. He's a member of Los Mocochetes, the band that does our theme music. Anyways,
yeah, they had tough skin,
yeah,
and had seen it all, done it all, and it for other crap diners too, the food was good.
Oh, I love the food.
The food was good. If I had to choose between other diners in town, it's up there. I mean, it was the one. I think I had to learn how to make chicken fried steak in the pandemic, in quarantine, because I still can't find as good of a chicken fried steak.
Yeah. I was a biscuits and gravy person, and biscuits and gravy you can kind of have anywhere, but their gravy was always super hot temperature wise. It was if gravy can be fresh, it was fresh somehow. 2 a.m. Biscuits were delicious. I've not been able to replicate that experience.
And even their green chili, we're pretty picky and snobby about our green chili over here. And diner green chili is not usually up there. Oh God, I tried it at Breakfast King one time. Terrible idea. But I was like craving the huevos rancheros, and Denver Diner had good green chili too. Like really, the food slapped, and
Yeah.
it was economical.
Yeah, I remember. I think we've had some meetings there with our unhoused neighbors and comrades, and it was a place that like felt comfortable for us all to hang out and have a meal. We knew it was going to be relatively affordable, and we weren't going to be hassled.
No, everybody was the same, and I think like everybody was a customer.
Well, I mean, you'd see cops, you'd see politicians, you'd see punks, you'd see teenagers, you'd see whole families, you'd see people after Broncos games. I mean, it was just like every kind of person was at this intersection of the diner.
Yeah, I can't, when it closed and I was so devastated, I made this kind of like thought that, man, was like that the most accessible restaurant, or was that the most like intersectional place in Denver? And I think it might have been, at least in my era of like being an adult in this city.
And I'm thinking about its importance as like you're talking about a late night spot. But we're losing these kinds of spots, right? I mean, the Denver Diner's gone. Tom's Diner is gone. Leela's is gone. These are all places that folks, regardless of your socioeconomic status, could spend time. Like you're saying, you could get a cup of coffee and sit there for 4 or 5 hours and nobody would hassle you. Are you worried, or like how do you feel about Denver losing those kinds of spots?
I mean, I've always felt really sadly for the amount of spaces for youth, and this is something you and I have shared for a long time, just losing DIY venues. And I remember meeting your husband at a teen center that threw punk shows, and like we don't have these spaces for youth. And me being around youth all the time, it's like, what do you guys get to do?
Where do kids tell you where they go?
I mean, my favorite spot as a high schooler was cruising the 16th Street Mall, and that's still going on for the teens, but it's not super safe. It's definitely not as safe as hanging out at a Denver Diner or a teen center or being at a show, and that was part of the appeal for me. But I want to advocate for more all ages shows and advocate for more spots to be open that late. I mean, I know you went to like Paris on the Platte a lot as a teen, and I knew a lot of teens that went there. I wasn't really part of that circle, but Leela's especially, like being an all night place, and another place that you could just chill and not have to like buy a lot of things or buy anything. And
a place to be.
And it also like it's all like corporatized too, because it's like now it's all your only options are like Denny's and maybe IHOP, and so it's like you have to go with. It's not a mom and pop. It's not a local family.
And it just feels a little different. I mean, definitely there was a Denny's by my high school that served a similar purpose to the Denver Diner, but the Denver Diner just felt different.
Yeah, it's like in the middle of it all,
Yeah,
like
it's like a fishbowl. You're watching.
Get it all.
You're watching the city.
Yeah, it's a huge loss, and I know. I think they said that Denver Diner's not done forever, and that they may open another spot. But I think so much about what made that Denver Diner what it did. It was the intersection. Like if they have it. Even on the other side of Gold Exit Spear, it wouldn't quite be as perfect as it was.
Oh, I miss that place. Kalyn, thank you so much for reminiscing with me about our favorite stop at Denver Diner.
Sad face, yeah. You're the best. Thanks so much.
yeah, it's a bummer the Denver Diner is gone. But there are other late night diners out there. Earlier this week, our newsletter writer, Peyton Garcia, put out a call to our readers for their favorite Denver diners. And we got some interesting responses. Peyton, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Bree.
So, what have people been telling you?
So, all of the responses that I got in my inbox were for one specific diner located off Colfax and Race, and that is Pete's Kitchen.
Of course. A Denver mainstay for sure.
Yeah, Sarah Newell, she says Pete's Kitchen is of course the best, undisputable. And reader Trapper Ewing, I think I'm saying that right, says, I honestly don't think Pete's Kitchen has much competition. Village Inn and Denver Diner were good, and Ann's doesn't really stay open that late. Breakfast King is honestly too far south, and Butcher Block is too far north.
Oh.
That was from Trapper.
I like Trapper's lay of the land here with where these different spots are located. And how about you, Peyton? Are you a Pete's Kitchen person?
Yeah, actually, I am. I never had the good fortune to try some of the diners that you so lovingly tell me about. But I went to Pete's Kitchen a lot in high school, mostly after concerts or prom or homecoming. We went there late night, so I have really fond memories of being there in my big poofy dresses. It was a good time, and my parents, they grew up in Denver, and they went there as teenagers all the time. So it's always kind of seemed like a real Denver icon to me. When I've thought of Denver, I've thought of Pete's Kitchen. So I think of it very fondly.
Oh my God, I love that story. I just love that story. I think about seeing teenagers in their finery at Pete's Kitchen. Like, that's great.
Yeah, just shoveling pancakes in our tuxedos and ball gowns.
I think I have to give it a second chance. Not that I'm not like a huge Pete's Kitchen person, but I was always a Denver Diner person, so that might have to be my new home.
Yeah.
So Pete's Kitchen is great, but there's got to be more late night spots we don't know about. What late night spaces in Denver are important to you? Where do you go to feel a sense of belonging? We'd love to hear your favorites. Leave us a voicemail at 720-500-5418. And for more breaking diner news, subscribe to Peyton's newsletter at denver.citycast.fm. And here's what else is happening in Denver today. Staffing shortages have pushed DPS to move 3 schools to remote learning this week, as other metro area school districts cancel some classes altogether. The Denver Post reports that our schools are facing a variety of pandemic-related challenges like shortages of substitutes, school nurses, and bus drivers, and supply chain issues impacting school lunch options. And get this, DPS is putting a process in place to decide every day whether or not classes the next day will be in person or remote. They say they're letting parents know by 4 p.m. if they need to go remote the next day. Ooh. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed the show, why not take a minute to tell a friend about us, rate the show wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to our morning newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye-bye. Paul's a magician. He pops in and out of Zoom all day.